Doesn't our sense of right and wrong get handed down to us either from our family or from the culture or from the government? Isn't there really, at the end of the day, nothing more to it than what we've received? This is a very common perspective that I hope we can see without too much time and effort is just plain silly. Of course that's not true, and it can't be true. And here's simple proof of it. Our perspective of what is right and what is wrong changes. How do you get to the place where I used to think this was right and now I think it's wrong, or I used to think this was wrong and now I think it's right, unless you have the capacity to get beyond what's handed down to you? You can't. So why do people say this kind of stuff? Well, there's a couple of reasons. On the one hand, people say this because they want to minimize or undo the reality of right and wrong. If I can affirm that the source of that sense of right and wrong is simply something inherited, then I have removed any obligation that I might have to submit to it. So that if I want to do something that my parents or a previous culture or even the current culture thinks is wrong, I can say, well, why should I listen to my parents or that previous culture or even that current culture? It's going to change. At the end of the day, we want to be able to do what we want to do without feeling the weight of guilt. And so this posture, again, removes anything truly binding about any moral sense at all. And you simply have to go to history to see that. If all morality is simply culturally ingrained in us, then if you happen to live in Mississippi in 1850, there's nothing wrong with owning people. The reality is there is something wrong with owning people, whether you know it now or whether you knew it then. Even if you believed it was okay, that doesn't make it okay. If you lived in Germany circa 1938, then yeah, you could believe that it's right to kill all the Jews. But you'd be wrong. The culture that taught you that would be wrong. The government that taught you that would be wrong. But there's a second reason why we try to ground our sense of right and wrong in what we inherit, and that's when we want to try to prop up something because we don't like being wronged. That is, if we say that all right and wrong is what you learn from your parents or from the culture or from the government, then I can do whatever I want. But the problem is, you can do whatever you want to me. If I say there's no transcendent moral law, no law above all of us that we're all obligated to submit to, then there's no reason for you not to do to me what you want to do to me. It's just a question of preferences. You may prefer to rob me, and I may prefer to keep what's mine. But without a right and wrong, it doesn't matter. It's just your preference and my preference. Now, again, we want to embrace that when we want to do wrong. But when we want to object to others doing wrong, we want to find something a little more substantial. But if we can't find anything more substantial, this is going to have to do. I'm telling you, I've gone out there, I've asked young college students who embrace this idea that there is no transcendent moral standard, no right and wrong above us that we all have to submit to. And I've asked them, okay, is it wrong for a police officer to put his knee on the neck of a handcuffed man for 9 minutes? You see, because if there's no right and wrong, that's not wrong. And if there is a right and wrong, then maybe I'm doing something wrong, and not just other people. The reality is we want there to be a standard when others are wronging us. We don't want there to be a standard when we wrong others. There is a standard, and we are wronged, and we do wrong. That's the reality.